Gersh, good afternoon. Welcome to the Meeting Podcast.
Thanks, Jeff. Lovely to be here, mate. It's
Oh,
been an exciting build-up. I've been looking forward to it.
I know. I can sort of see the smile on your face. You're ready to go, aren't you, buddy?
Always ready to go, buddy. You know that.
So how's the week been treating you? I understand there's a lot of things happening. We can dissect
Yeah,
this conversation in many ways. What's on top of your mind at the moment?
yeah. One of the biggest things that was on my mind leading into the conversation today was how we're actually going to cover off all the different aspects that we could cover off in like the hour and a half that we've got.
Yeah.
So mate, I don't know. We're just going to have to give it a red hot go and see what
Uh,
happens, right?
I
But
was reading your responses on my iPhone, and man,
yeah.
I was constantly scrolling with all the responses. It was so big.
Yeah, there's a lot going on for sure. I mean, recently moved, and obviously that's always puts things into a different perspective. Moved in with my partner actually, and that in itself, moved to a different area and had my son, getting him assimilated to the new area and sort of, even getting back into those classic routines, So it's an interesting example, right? So I was wondering why we were just feeling a little bit off in the morning, like just didn't feel like we had it together in the morning, right? Getting, ready for school, lunches, pickups, drop offs, all that stuff. It just felt like it was still
You're out of the groove.
just out of the groove, man. It just wasn't in sync. The flow wasn't there, right? And this is just between my son and I, really. And I just jerried on the way, like I was dropping him to school a couple of days ago, and I said, we haven't set like a time to wake up, and then what time, you've got to get on your catch your train to school, right? Or what time you got to get on the train by, and then what time that's going to get you. So we haven't actually sat there and mapped all that stuff out. So we got to map it out because we were living in our old place for so long. It was second nature, and it's just easy to kind of walk to school. But yeah, man. So just stuff like that, like it's interesting when you go through those things. It's like, sometimes it's never one whole big thing. Like there are big things, right? Like moving in with my partner, that's a huge, big level of adjustment for us both and for us all, right? That's a big thing. You can, it sticks out like a sore thumb. You can hit it like a big red button. But then you've got, sometimes all these little things you just don't think about, and then you got to dissect them all and put them back together again, like this little school routine, this morning routine. Right? And I just lost that morning routine just with all the moving and traveling and all that sort of jazz over the last couple of months. But I love my morning routine, man. It's one of my keys to my personal success and my personal kind of well-being.
Are you looking forward to keeping the same routine, or do you think you're going to use this opportunity to maybe improve upon it, or perhaps maybe eliminate?
Yeah, listen, my morning routine, I'm going to stabilize it initially. So I'll just do the basics, just making sure that, the kid wakes up, he's fed, he has his lunch, and he gets to school on time. I'll keep it at that. And,
It's fundamentals.
Just fundamentals, right? And so I'm trying to, ensuring that I get my meditation time before I wake him up, right? So just making sure that those things are in place. And then start to layer it in, say, okay, if I wanted to go for a run before, the meditation and waking him up, what would that look like? So starting then and just layering in the other sort of.
Seems quite exciting, mate. New place, new sort of family relationships, new dynamics. I think it's good to have a bit of a refresh, yeah?
Yeah, it is good. I mean, it definitely makes you think differently. I mean, moving's always tough. Moving brings out the best and the worst. I'm very comfortable in saying that. Probably more of the worst, but anyway. But moving is one of those things that, it gives you the opportunity, whether you like it or not, to change everything. And so
Yeah, good point.
So there's been a lot of change. And I guess some's gone better than others. I've not that I've got to get used to it, but there's a whole process of learning to live with someone, again, which I haven't done for over 10 years. So that in itself is like, okay, well, actually everything I do or would normally do at home that was, never really something that I thought about. I've got to think about now. Right?
You definitely need to be a bit more conscious now, eh?
You got to be more considerate, and be aware that there's someone else who is living in the house who has needs as well, and
You can't walk around in your underpants all day long, mate.
Oh, I still do that. It's more the neighbours that I think we've got an issue with that than anyone else in the house.
Yeah. Hey, maybe, but but it seems positive. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, by and large, I think making these changes in life are positive, right? I guess it's one of the beauties of living where we live and having the lifestyles that we do. We make these changes, and of course, it doesn't happen like this for everyone. But by and large, they are positive experiences, and that's Jeff. I'll be honest. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and regardless of how this move goes, how it goes with the relationship side of things, and I understand the fickleness and the volatility of it all. It's an opportunity to learn and grow. You know what I mean? And so that's and that sort of slapped me in the face again, like last week. So so I was sort of not getting down on myself, but some stuff was just really challenging. I was having a bit of a tough time, and again, so I was just sort of chatting through it with another friend of mine. He's like, well, it's here because it's you're having these challenges and going through these changes because it's that opportunity to learn and grow. And that's pretty cool. When I realized that again, because I'm big in sort of for myself at least, constantly trying to to learn and grow and think about things differently, and and sort of use these experiences and these changes in life as those opportunities to to understand if things are coming up for me, why they're coming up, where does it come from.
If you don't mind sharing, Gersh, about these challenges, was it purely moving related? Was it something else? Like, you don't have to divulge. I'm just sort of curious to see what was sort of the catalyst, really.
Yeah, I think moving and sort of then living, with someone brings up many different things. I think some of the stuff that was coming up last week was, how I approach, a relationship with a significant other. How do I get better at those relationships rather than going on repeat and without sort of consciously thinking about how do I bring kind of the best of me out in this relationship? How do I grow and be the best I can be in that? And for me, that's a conscious thing, right? Otherwise, I'll just fall into the same routines and the same patterns. And I'm a big believer that that's kind of those routines and patterns have gotten me what I've got in the past. So if I want something different for the future, I've got to think about that consciously.
I suppose it's a bit of a balance, isn't it, mate? Like, it's good to have routine, it's good to have normalcy, it's good to know what you're doing every day. But I think in a relationship, you still need that spontaneity, that dynamicism. It's a good reminder for me to go to my wife to give her a kiss.
And just even sort of sitting back and saying, who am I being? Right? Am I just bringing the same shit back up? Or am I, am I identifying, hey, this stuff's coming up for me? Is that the best of me? Or, would I like to, approach it differently?
Is there a fear of replicating a bad habit in a way?
I've got one of my limiting beliefs, right? To coin the great man Tony Robbins, right? Is, and one of my stories that I tell myself is that I'm not good with relationships. Right. And so that's, is that a fear or limiting sort of factor in my mind? I think sometimes it is. So, trying to break through that, like remodel that is kind of where I'm at the moment as well. I think that, there's a lot of stories around that.
There is, mate. That's a very nuanced feeling. That's really unique to you.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one of the things that again, back to that point around sort of using this experience and these changes as an opportunity to learn and grow. Just to get straight up with you, I'm going to see another good friend of mine who is just not just started, but just moved a psychology practice near where I live now. So I'm actually going to see this person to work on this specific point, relationships, and in particular
Wow.
in particular relationships with significant others, because I just think I can get better at it.
When you say better, how would you define that? Have you defined that?
For me, it's not letting the mistakes of the past become the mistakes of the future. I mean, it's applying wisdom to that experience of life, and applying that wisdom to the experience of the relationship, and almost creating the relationship that you want, and creating who I want to be in that relationship. And that's how I would define it, right? And for me, that's me just bringing the best I can be. And you can't do that all the time, right? I'm human.
No, we're not perfect,
right?
bud.
Yeah, and I don't want to be perfect, to be honest. But I don't want to make the same mistakes over and over again. Right?
You know what's funny, right? Like you're very savvy with business building, and I see a bit of parallels in a way. Let me know if you agree or disagree, right? Would you want to approach the next relationship having the experience and baggage of the past? Or would you want to see a relationship or a business, as a matter of fact, as something completely new where you're not anchored by the past?
It's a really good point, right? And so, and I think I'm glad you actually kind of went down this path, because it's new, like it's novel, because it just is.
It's like a shiny red car.
Yeah, it's someone new, it's someone different, and that's more so why I want to remain open and work on myself, so I can keep approaching it open with that new sense of of wonder, rather than letting those patent programs, right, which are sitting there wired into your subconscious, just without you thinking about it, letting those overtake how you approach it. You go back into that again, you jump back on that hamster wheel. I don't want to do that. And that's where the rate changes and stuff that I'm kind of going through at the moment. I think it really sort of snapped me back out of it and said, hey, here's the opportunity, right? Here's the opportunity to sort of take these learnings and growings and change things up. Be a bit more open, not go back on the pre-programming, that I may have been succumbing to in the past with other relationships. I don't know if that makes sense at all.
No, it makes perfect sense. It's sort of, if you were to sort of sum it up, it's sort of the whole analogy of or sort of phrase, once bitten, twice shy. And I'm not, there's no right or wrong here. But it seems that would be pretty cool if you were 4 years old again and you didn't have those prior life experiences, and you saw this new partner and new relationship as something new, and you can sort of give your new self to it, as opposed to being influenced by those sort of past nuances in the back of your head. I'm just sort of thinking out aloud here.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be lovely, right? If you could
would that be lovely? I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think if we could all walk into, whether it's a relationship or something with work or an interaction with anyone, and be completely open and not have any of our past kind of overriding.
Yeah, it's sort of like
that'd be pretty cool. I don't know if it's possible, but it's pretty cool.
What do you reckon, mate? What do you reckon? I don't think you need to see your mate anymore, mate. I think you're good. Wouldn't that be pretty something if you could walk into? Let's broaden it out here, right? Would it be a business? Would it be your life or a friendship? Or just something new? Wouldn't it be good to encounter that experience for what it is?
Yeah, to be completely present in that moment and open. Mate, what a gift you would give whoever it is on the other end of that interaction.
Wow, I think that's pretty cool. I'm not too sure if your partner's going to listen to this, and then maybe she might get a few cues here, but just don't know me, Gersh. I don't mean to sort of, purposely paint a positive layer on top of it, because every experience is unique. You know, we all have different backgrounds, right? But
Yeah.
just a different perspective on things.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, sometimes, there's interactions require you to bring the experience of your past forward. Right. And I guess that's your own personal judgment has to come into play, because you can't not use the wisdom of the past, right? Otherwise you'd get run over by a car each time you cross the road.
That's true.
Right. It's that balance and that sort of understanding of, hey, again, if you're having an interaction with a colleague, right, and maybe there's something going on, or they rolled you up, or you get a nasty email from them at some point, right? Being able to sort of know that, hey, I've got that coming up for me, but I'm about to walk into it, an interaction with them. Can I just put that to one side and just leave it out of this interaction I'm about to have, and just go and open and be myself and approach it a different angle, rather than let that, I don't know, it could be something negative overrun, right? And then put me into a state that is probably going to give me more propensity for another negative interaction, right? Do you know what I mean? Like it's that type of stuff.
It's interesting, buddy.
Yeah, it's not for everything. Like when I'm kind of in my more aware states, I can pick like if I'm having a positive or negative thought, and then can almost see how I'm going to interact with the next person I see, because of the thought.
So you can sort of play out the next steps. Is that correct? Or?
No, because I can see the thought that I just had. So say I've had a negative thought. I'm in a negative headspace when I'm talking to that person. I can feel that negative headspace coming out in the interaction. Right. And so it's just, okay, it doesn't happen all the time, but when I'm in more aware states of mind, I can actually feel that happening. And so kind of got to build those circuit breakers, right? To say, actually, I'm in a little bit of a negative headspace, right? Or I'm in an overly positive headspace, and I need to put a bit more critical thinking on where I'm at for this next interaction. Right? Do you know what I mean? So it's, it gets.
You're a complex individual, mate.
Sometimes I feel more complex than I should. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Sometimes I'm probably overthinking a lot of this stuff too. So I'm trying to be open and going with the flow.
I suppose what's a good thing, mate, you've got the self-awareness now. I think you've got the wisdom and the age to sort of gauge where you're over-committing or you're under-providing in a way.
Yeah, you just want to turn up, right? Like it's trying to constantly trying to work on being present. I think, and even sort of being clear mentally. Is so tough sometimes. You just feel how much, just running through your brain with everyone too, right? Family, finances, work.
It's a constant merry-go-round in your head, eh?
Yeah, and that I think is just trying to quieten that down sometimes, and just simplify things is a real challenge. That's definitely where hey Jeff, I'm not sure if I may have to get kicked out of this room.
Hey, like what we talked about, we're going to let it roll. Such is life. If you need to dart around and have a bit of walk into the next room, that's fine.
Let's do it. You're going to try and stay on camera. We're going to keep talking.
Yeah, and as much as I say that the Medium podcast is production ready and professional all the time, these things happen.
These things do happen.
And I think one of my next episodes, when they come out, they're going to see a special guest in terms of my son.
That's okay. That's
putting his behind on my face, but that's just part of it, isn't it?
It is exactly part of it.
You know what I mean? Walk us through it, man. How do you feel? You're trying to find a room here, and this is real, guys. To my lovely audience out here, this is it. This is real. Gersh is currently walking around the room because he clearly did not book the room in the first instance.
No, I could not get the room booking.
He's going to sit. He's going to have the window behind him, so he's going to have a bit of natural light coming in.
Just going to get the lights on in the room.
It's looking good.
Let's see. There we go.
There you go. So there was change right there.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? You know what's funny? This room's even better.
Yeah, we got an upgrade.
We got an upgrade. So current experiences seems like it is a bit of an upgrade, isn't it?
It is definitely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that we live in a very fortunate part of the world. So even when we talk about going through changes and tough times, it doesn't compare to a lot of other people around the world who are really going through tough times.
Perspective is important, isn't it?
Yeah, it is really important. I mean, you can let this stuff get the better of you, right?
In what way? What do you mean? How?
Well, I'm very fortunate. I haven't had sort of the challenges around sort of getting overrun by negative states of mind, depression, or anything like that. Mentally, I've been pretty fortunate, and haven't been stricken down by some of those things, which affects so many people nowadays, right?
It's crazy. It's I think a lot of it is probably the fact that there's a lot of noise out there.
Yeah. Yes, I think that there's a. I mean, I have a growing concern, right? Because I'm a sort of single father. And my ex-wife and I have had dual custody of our son from the time that we separated, and from when he was a baby. And yes, it's definitely like an ongoing concern for me, like how he grows up in this modern world, which is so noisy, and there's so much complexity in the modern life. And I don't know if it's any correlation as to why kids find the human interaction as challenging as they do nowadays. Like, it's interesting
because of the digital.
I don't know.
The digital way of life, you mean, which makes it hard for kids nowadays to communicate, or?
Yeah, it's that, but then also, the challenges like have mentally dealing with the complexities of the world that they're moving into, right?
Have you pinpointed a way that you've already applied, or you're looking to change up to guide your son to manage that noise and to reduce the complexity?
I wouldn't say I've got any sort of silver bullets. So I don't know. I hope we can just keep, maintain a good, healthy relationship and just stay in perspective, and have good conversations about anything that's going on for him or me. Try and be as open and obviously from a age appropriate level, open around what's kind of going on in my life and his life, and
you guys are very open during breakfast or the dinner table. You do share quite a fair bit, or?
Yeah, we try to be. I mean, he's a bit of he's a preteen now, so it's quite interesting to see how sort of the communication has changed. But
he's going to smell like pizza every day now, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw my cousin the other day, and he goes to me, the cuteness is gone, Jeff. My kids are like year 7, year 8. I don't want to hug them anymore because they smell like pizza. They don't wash properly.
Yeah, it's definitely, they're not little kids anymore. The cuteness is definitely gone. So you've got 2 little ones at home, mate. So I'd make the most of it.
I'm trying to extract as much information I can from you to ready myself for the next phase.
Feels like it happens overnight, but it happens across probably for all, at least in my case, it happened over 6 months. From being a little boy and still cute, and having that little boy, I don't know, cheekiness and playfulness, to now being that sort of preteen and flooded with hormones. He's still super kind and just a top person. I'm just amazed at how good a person he actually is.
Yeah.
But you can see the changes. He's like, it was funny the other day. he's getting just the standard sort of shadow over his lip, just coming up to 13. It's like, oh, when you don't shave it, just wait. Typical stuff that that we heard when we were kids, right?
Yeah.
I think he got a razor at his mum's place and shaved his upper lip. I'm like, mate, okay, that's it. Okay, get ready. Okay, that's your life from now on. Okay, now you've started. There's no way you're stopping.
Wait. Is he the razor guy or is he the electric shaver guy? Sorry,
I think
maybe he's an electric shaver.
I think he just grabbed a razor, but it was quite funny, right? He's like, no, I just had enough. I just have to do it. I'm like, I said, all right. I said, I get it. I said, I went through the same thing. So I think I approached it the same way as well. I didn't ask my dad. I just grabbed one of his razors and just went for it.
Mate, I'm trying to grow my moustache for November, mate. This is taking me 20 years, mate.
That's it. I think you might get there this year, mate.
I think I might. I'm holding out. I'm holding out. That's beautiful, mate. Hey.
Yeah, this is cool. That's very cool. So I mean, try and stay as open and as honest as I can with him. Again, he's coming up to 13, so I don't want to, sort of just got to keep it appropriate for his level. But
I think
it's good. I think it's developing those relationships. It's trying to develop the relationship with him so that it's positive. And so he kind of has that level of, I don't know what it is to be a good person and good human and contribute. Have like good morals and keep his understanding of what's good and keep that sort of growing as well. And at the same time,
I think for me, the biggest thing for my kids is that the conversation must always be open. If there's anything I'm working on, is to always maintain that dynamic where I'm just sending out a guy. Yes, I'm your dad, right? But at the same time, I can also be your friend. I may have a moustache in the works. I might be a bit taller. I might sound a bit different, right? But at the end of the day, I'm just like you. And I think for me, having that conversation with my son and daughter will be key going forward. And I think that's what I'm going to put importance on. Also, we talk about education, we talk about private schooling, we talk about extracurricular, we talk about anything, right?
Yeah.
I think for me, it's always maintaining that time in the day where we can just have that conversation. And that's what I want. That's my goal when it comes to my parenting going forward.
Yeah, it's golden, man. That'd be cool, right? Yeah, it's interesting. I try and sort of talk about what feelings maybe coming up, like in generally, are we enjoying our lives, or even when I had a go at him a couple of weeks ago when we were going for dinner, and we spoke about it afterwards. But I remember sitting at the time and saying, "Hey, listen, if you're really upset with me, you get every right to be. It's okay. You're allowed to have your feelings. But if you need to go for a walk to calm it down, I said you can. I can feel it in you, right?" And obviously he was reacting to me having a go at it. But
it's nice.
We spoke about it afterwards, right? I think a week or so afterwards. And he explained, what came up for him and that type of stuff. And I'm like, I said, you're gonna have that stuff, right? You're gonna, your kids and like anything else, right? Then you push your buttons. You got to allow your space to actually feel, your own emotions, but then being able to come back to it and speak about it and talk about what was going on for him.
That's huge.
What was going on for me. That was pretty cool, man. Like if I can maintain that with him, I'd be pretty stoked.
That's right. So wow. So after when you had a go at him, he actually came back around, calmed down, and you guys had a chat to debrief in a way.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like a week later or something. He's like, "Oh, listen, I want to talk about, what
that's
went
nice,
on that
buddy.
night."
That's lovely.
Well, that's kind of, if all of the different nuances that need to go into someone and into a relationship, whether it's a parenting relationship or an intimate relationship. But if you can, come back to that level of communication at some point, even if it's heated at the time. You can't do it at the time, right? I get that. You know, I'm definitely got some passion, I've got some fire in my blood, right? Sometimes, when I get to that state of mind, I've got to wait till I can have a more rational thought and a rational conversation. But yeah, it took us a week, and we went into it, and I just thought, that's cool. If we can keep, if we can get into a discussion at the time, like on the spot, great. But if we know that window and that door is always open to come back to it and say, hey, this went down. Don't know what was going on for you, but this is what I heard and this is how I felt, and then, because I apologized to him at the end of it. I was like, listen, I kind of messed up. I was reacting.
Was it indeed a fault of you, Gersh, or were you more doing it in a sense of just to tone it down, or?
No, I snapped at it. No, I snapped at it because, I just did. Whatever was going on for me was going on for me, and I just snapped at it and probably took it out on him. It wasn't a healthy interaction, right? And that's me owning that completely.
Great self-awareness.
Yeah, and so it was good. I mean,
takes humility, by the way.
Yeah, well, I think when you're faced with someone that you care about and you love, and they turn around and say, "Hey, that was kind of cool. What was going on for you? This is how I felt." If you can't show humility in that situation, I don't know when you can. I think
it's a very good point, buddy.
I think I don't know if we owe anything to anyone, but
yeah,
if you can't sort of really see, the truth in your own being during those moments, you're going to struggle with ever seeing it.
If you don't let me, it's a tough one. If you don't mind me asking, Gersh, it's could be a bit of a touchy question. How is it as a obviously you mentioned your divorce, there's a new partner. How is it as a single dad? Is it challenging? Is it less challenging? I don't know. I'm just curious, just to hear it, really.
Because it's kind of all that I really know. I mean, is it challenging? I think parenting is challenging. I think, whether you're in, whatever the family makeup is, I think there's greater complexity with, being a single parent. But I think the greatest thing that really made it less complex and less challenging for my ex-wife and I was the fact that I think we put our own differences to the side and created a very amicable sort of trusting and kind of loving environment for him, because we realized to sort of put his needs first. And his mum's a great mum, she's a great person as well. And so, it just goes to show that if you can get to that, that's great. If you can't get to that, it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. Like I don't know how else to describe it. And I think that's the reason why for me, it made, being a sort of single parent that much easier, because we get along really well and we co-parented so well. We don't get along all the time, and that's just the nature of it. But we co-parent really well, and that's the most important thing.
It's very unselfish. I think it's a great approach, in a sense that where you get, what, we're going to put our differences aside. Our son has nothing to do with it. We need to put him first.
And that's enabled us to do some pretty cool stuff, right? Because we have a good co-parenting relationship. We have the ability to be flexible, right? And and that flexibility allows people to have a good
there's harmony.
Yeah, it creates like a really great understanding and allows you to kind of live a life without the potential additional resentment and the additional that you can potentially have. And I know it's not easy, but we were kind of lucky. We had a breakup that didn't end in the nastiness that you hear sometimes, right?
Mm.
And
Sometimes, you know, you don't have that choice in a way, do you?
You don't have that choice. Yeah, you don't have a choice. So I mean, we were fortunate that we're healthy humans, and we approach things in a particular way. We're both on the same page, and we got through it. And we put his needs first, and still try to do that as best as possible. Don't always succeed, by and large. We do, and that's the most important thing. And I think that just transfers into kind of the rest of his life, right? He's knowing that that his needs are really important and kind of sit above our own personal grievances. So yeah, I don't know. It's, like you said, not everyone has that opportunity. That you can't say everyone can do that. It's just it'd be amiss of me to say something like that. But to answer your question, yeah, it was complex. It was challenging. Man, I remember, and it was back when we were both at TR in Sydney, right? I remember the first day that I think he was in preschool, definitely in preschool, maybe like just a couple of years old. I remember the first day as a sort of single dad, getting him ready to, and dropping him off at preschool and then getting to work on time. Man, I remember how ecstatic I felt. Like what an achievement. I remember that feeling. And that was pretty cool. It's pretty funny actually when I think about it, now. Like it's a long time ago now, but I remember what that felt like. It's like, oh, I did it, I can do this,
It was a nice little win back in the day, and it sort of stayed with you in a way, hasn't it? But like what you said, you're very thankful in terms of your ex-partner and yourself having that harmonious sort of approach on how best to raise your son going forward.
Yeah, there's that, and there's one other thing that I'll just sort of add into it from a contextual perspective. We were living in New York when we separated, and so when she left to come back to Sydney with my son, I had to stay a little bit longer in New York to finish off some sort of business stuff. But in a very challenging global role where I was traveling, I don't know, 3 weeks out of every 6, which took me so I was, and long haul, really hectic travel schedule, and crazy global team, trying to grow a new product line, a new business line, and I would say I was definitely probably way too much time in the office, or doing things professionally, and that was a key focus during that time of New York. And then when we separated, I got given the gift of learning how to actually be like a dad, like a full-time dad. And so that was pretty cool.
Funny how these things work out in a way. But like you and I, we always talk about, the outcome could have been either way.
Either way, man. Either way. Man, I remember being in New York. This is heavy. I don't know if I've even told many people about this, but I remember being in New York and I had the choice of, do I just stay in New York? Right? Like my career was flying. Right? Like I could just stay in New York, keep doing the career thing. I don't know where the hell I'd be now. Right? Like I wouldn't have a clue. Right?
Sliding doors, my friend, sliding doors.
Right? But like I remember having that thought, and just it was a thought. It wasn't even something that made me question.
You mean back then, or even now? Sorry.
Back then, I was like shit. I could stay here, and I could, I don't know, be that type of father, and that's lives over here and comes back maybe once or twice a year, and then doing that whole thing. Which I'm not judging anyone for doing it.
Hey,
but
each to their own.
It's each their own. But for me, I'm like, it wasn't even a question. Like, no, I want to, be with my son. I never sort of really anticipated, being separated or anything like that in the first place, let alone, me staying in New York. But man, I could have, like you said, sliding doors once. I could have stayed in New York and just kept on that career track, right? Hell, wouldn't have a clue where the hell I'd be right now. Don't know what I'd be doing.
Maybe you'd have been too busy for me, babe. You know what? Obviously, we don't know, right?
Just don't know, man. And so, but it's interesting, right? Like it's funny you say that. And then I come back to Sydney, transfer back, in that Margaret Street office, connect with you, and 10, 12 years down the track, here we are.
I reckon it was a fantastic decision.
No, it was the only decision. For me, it was the only decision. It was big enough. It was cool. I tell you, and that was one of the big things as well. So,
and there's no regrets, of course.
It
Nothing.
gave me that gift, man. Like, learning how to be a full-time dad and figuring that out, and then creating a relationship.
It's special, mate. It's truly, it's a one-of-a-kind experience. And I know by all means you might have 2, 3, whatever, how many kids, right? But fatherhood in general is it's a beautiful gift. And like what you mentioned, it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, I mean?
Yeah, you see the mirrors of yourself, right? Sometimes, and you see the replication from your parents come up here and there, and you're like,
oh, in terms of your parenting style, sorry, or
yeah, sometimes you see that stuff come through,
I'm glad I've parked it to the side.
Yeah.
Not saying it's right or wrong, right? But it took me 35 years for my dad to go to me. You know what, Jeff? I think you know what you're doing.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty powerful from my dad.
Yeah.
My dad is your typical Chinese parent. We apparently, my dad comes from a region where it's very much a patriarchal society.
Is that right? Yeah.
The man is the man. And to see my dad say that was very humbling, and the relationship has definitely improved because of that. And how I said to you, when I go look forward with being a dad, it's very much having those conversations. The most important thing I forgot to add was that it's an equal conversation.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, not bringing those judgments into the conversations.
No, there's no, because I'm 30 years ahead of you or whatever, or you should listen to me. No, not at all.
Yeah. No, I like that, man. It's cool. That's very sweet.
So how do you sort of so you're back in Australia, you made the decision to obviously go down the fatherhood route. It's you reconnected with Jeff, which is fantastic, by the way.
Exactly.
You're in a new place, you're in a new partner. You're going to make sure going forward that you're going to embrace this new experience with an open mind. You're not going to let those little cobwebs in the back of your head get in the way. How does then climbing the next mountain coincide with this? Are you very much climbing the next mountain, or are you camping midway to help others up that mountain?
I don't know. Like, if I'm to be brutally honest, I genuinely feel like I'm ready for that next challenge professionally. I think in my personal life, I'm trying to climb that mountain now with the new relationship that I'm in. It's great and challenging and hard and difficult and beautiful and inspiring and full of wonder all at the same time, right? But professionally, I can definitely say that I am ready for that next challenge, and I'm trying to figure that out, Jeff. Like, I'm really trying to figure out what does that even mean? What is that next challenge for me?
I was going to ask you the same question, because you like what you said, right? You've achieved a fair bit. You like what you said. You've been very privileged and very thankful of the journey so far. I suppose, like my question, is that next challenge you climbing the next mountain, or is that next challenge helping others climb it? Or like what you said, you haven't really pinpointed yet, which is okay.
I think I want to have, maybe just, somewhat egotistical, or, because I want to sort of,
Hey, say it. We're human at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. I mean, gain significance. I haven't figured it out why, but you know, I want to have a greater impact, you know, like I want to have an impact. And I think when I felt like I've had the most impact was when I've actually helped teams, people, groups, communities, like grow, do things that they didn't think that they could do. You know, take them from where they are to somewhere different that they didn't know existed or didn't know, you know, that they could actually achieve themselves. You know, I love that stuff. I do. Like, I really love helping people grow. I think that's my leadership style is very sapient based. You know, it's about helping others be the best they can be and doing things that they probably didn't realize they could do.
And that's impact.
To me, that's impact. You know, that's having like a profound impact on an individual's lives. But you know, I think one of the cool things, right, is being able to do it in such a way where you're growing through it. Your team, the community, whoever you're interacting with, is growing in the direction they want to be going. But from a business level, those trajectories combine to actually get you to where you want to get to from a business perspective as well. So it's like a trifecta, right? So you get the individual's growing in the right direction, you're helping that. You're growing as a result of that. And then that's aligned to helping the business grow in the direction it wants to go.
Win-win.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy thing when it comes off. I can't say it happens all the time. I think I've had it maybe a few times in my life when all three kind of come off. But
it's pretty powerful when it does.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And I love the feeling. The feeling's just, I don't know. You can get romanticized, you know, with that feeling. But it's intoxicating.
Here's a question. Here's a question for you, Gus. When you say impact, is that something that you want to look back in life and realize that, hey, since I made that impact, my life has been great? I suppose what I'm trying to say is to you is that if I go to you, you didn't have the impact. Would you feel the same way, in a positive way?
You know what? I'd hate, personally, I'd feel like I haven't achieved everything I could if I didn't
have the impact.
Didn't help in some way. Do you know what I mean? And for me, that's impact. You know, like helping.
I suppose what I'm trying to say, I read an interesting book by Clayton Christensen. I'm sure you know of the guy. He wrote a very fascinating book about how will you measure your life. Not too sure you've had a chance to read that book yet.
No, I haven't. I'm reading through. I think it's like the third time. I try and do it quite regularly, especially when I'm, in a challenging part of my life. I'm reading Marcus Aurelius Meditations again, and even like it's just being a good man is enough sometimes, right?
I reckon.
And there is, I'm saying being a good man because it's straight out of the book, straight out of meditation. I think it's book 2, right? So he talks about his experiences and what he learned from his father and his father's father and his uncles, and how it all combined to giving him the philosophical, principles combined into that as well. The understanding of what it meant to be a good human and a good man. Right? And I'm like, sometimes it's just as simple as that. Defining good's the challenging thing, right?
It is.
Then we could have another podcast to define good in itself. But it's like sometimes as simple as that.
I suppose what I'm trying to say, Gersh, is that do you need the impact so that you can then measure it, so that then you've had a good life? Or reading Marcus Aurelius in terms of his books is a very much being a good man is enough?
I think being a good man is enough, but having the impact thing for me is my way of giving it back. You know what I mean? Like it's just fortunate, very fortunate, and sometimes right place at the right time. Sometimes doing good stuff. Sometimes just real elbow grease, hard work. Sometimes You know, it's just fortune, right? Sometimes it's just, you know, jumping off the cliff and growing your wings on the way down, right? Just taking those risks and just seeing what happens.
Wow. Jumping off the cliff without wings, that's a tough one.
Yeah, you want to hope you grow your wings.
Yeah, you bet. Better.
But yeah, look, sometimes around, you know, I don't know, like for me, impact now is kind of being able to, I don't know, pay it forward, give it back, help others grow, help others learn, share some of those experiences. And if that has an effect and helps someone do something they never realized they could do, or help them, you know, in their lives in a positive way, then that's a pretty cool thing, you know. And I think, I don't know, I'm kind of fortunate to have had the life that I have, you know, being able to share some of that with someone else. And here's the thing too, like there's still so much more to come, but there's, you know, I think for me, impact has just been able to, you know, to help others.
More to come or more to achieve?
More to come, because I don't even know like what I want to achieve. Do you know what I mean? Like I haven't got that defined yet. I haven't got a hard set of goals, right? I haven't like, oh yeah, so these are the goals I want to, you know, I just know that I'm in.
It could be a monetary thing. It could be something intangible. It could be something else. It could be a tangible. It could be anything, eh?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, and that's where I guess where I'm kind of at, like right now, is that, you know, I'm in that state of starting to, you know, redefine a lot of that stuff, right? And really start to look at things, you know, like
great opportunity. A great opportunity.
Yeah, what do I want professionally? What do I want to sort of be moving towards? You know, and I don't know, like this, you know, it's just some, you know, crazy opportunities out there as well. Again, because we're privileged enough to be living where we live and have the opportunities in front of us, you know. And I never thought this would be possible, but like I don't know, like I don't know how or what shape or size it looks like, but I'd love to get involved with the Australian space industry, which is just taking off, right? Excuse the pun, but like it's just sort of started to take off now, right? But wouldn't that be cool? Like as a kid, I remember going, oh, you know, I'd love to be an astronaut, but you know, not didn't think it was attainable, you know, because you know, oh yeah, it's NASA only. Now with the space industry, you know, becoming more of a commercial enterprise and so much opportunity around it, and Australia being, you know, obviously a growing player in there. Man, that'd be cool. It's like a boyhood dream, you know.
And I know you mentioned in a previous conversation, your interest very much lies in that sort of next frontier technology.
Yes, yeah. And I think I was talking to a really close dear friend of mine this morning, and she, you know, she actually asked me. She's like, "Oh, you know, talk about sort of, you know, the tech sort of stuff that you get involved in and you're interested in." I said I would, but at the moment, that's become more of a hobby rather than where, you know, I see the reality of life, because so much of my personal life is kind of more of what I'm focusing in on at the moment. But yeah, I kind of love those industries that are going to be the, you know, call it the growth industries or the biggest industries, you know, for the next sort of 30,
space,
50, 100 years.
Quantum computing, electrification, agriculture, food.
Exactly. Yeah, agri-tech, you know, biotech, all that stuff, you know, like, and just where even now the capabilities that we've got, you know, in front of us just blows my mind. But, you know, just with all the sort of personal stuff that I've got going on, you know, I haven't sort of been as active as I have been. But they're all the types of industries that I, you know, when I look at and think, okay, what's the next mountain I want to climb? They're the types of targets I'm looking at, because I don't know anything about it. You know, I wouldn't have a clue, right? But I know that, you know, I've got the ability to go in and sort of, you know, help people in those types of industries, because they have such a big problem, such a big challenge that they're trying to solve, right? And you just know that if you got involved, you'd find a way to help. You'd find a way to help, right? You always be able to find a way to help, you know. And that, to me, you know, the challenge around that is not knowing anything about those industries, not knowing anything about all, but just knowing that they're the industries that are solving the biggest problems that humanity has in the next 30, 50 years. So
it's exciting.
Yeah. And so if you can do that, help people, you know, and help people grow through that, and you get your growth.
I like what you said, mate, in terms of if you can help people that you're with, if you can, that therefore helps yourself, and therefore you can help the organization. It's sort of a trifecta.
Yeah, I mean, it's very idealistic, isn't it? But that's kind of, I don't know.
I
That's
think
just the
that
type of stuff
I
I like
think
to do.
human civilization was based on the idealistic sort of dreams,
Yeah, I think so too.
and you know, we're a species that can.
I think so too, mate. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. You know, I kind of like, it's a, would have been, if even last night, my son wanted to watch a bit of Star Wars. So we're watching a bit of Star Wars. And he asked me, he goes, do you think we'll have cities like that? I said, one day, yeah, there'll be something like that. I don't
You
know if
probably
it'll
said
be,
to him, not in my lifetime, but maybe your one, maybe.
yeah, you know, like, so it's possible, you know, and I don't know,
Yeah.
like it's interesting. It's interesting just to sort of hear that perspective from him. Right? So,
Which scene was it actually? Because when you say that, right, there's a scene in Star Wars
yeah.
that prompted me straight away about, wow, wouldn't that be something pretty grand?
So this was episode 1, Phantom Menace. And it was, I can't remember which city it was, but there was like a city with like
Oh,
obviously,
was it Tatooine or something like
it wasn't Tatooine. I can't remember which one it was, because Tatooine's a sort of desert city, but this is more of a,
that? Yeah.
like it was this is a night city. I can't remember where it was, but yeah, it was kind of cool. We could see like the flying traffic, huge high rises, and you know, not a tree to be seen anywhere, but just like, you know, just a tech, you know, a tech sort of cauldron.
When I think of amazing cities, I think of the one in Star Trek. It was the episode where an older commander went back to Starbase to basically infect everyone with some disease. Not too
Yeah,
sure if you've
right.
seen that one. And the city was essentially a planet. It was a sphere, and the whole city was built around its core, and you had like things flying everywhere. A city on Mars, essentially,
Yeah,
that Elon
yeah,
Musk is sort of working towards. So
yeah.
maybe when you think about it, you know, looking at it right now from a commercial point of view, seems SpaceX is sort of quite far ahead. You obviously mentioned NASA. Australia's coming up with an organization, is that correct? Or it's beginning to
Yes,
ramp up in a way, or?
yeah, I think our space industry is just embryonic, starting to ramp up. You got just the guys out of Brisbane, Gilmore Tech, that are doing sort of rocket propulsion systems and, you know, um, robotic kind of surface vehicles. I've got a few NASA contracts and stuff like that. You know,
Oh,
they're doing
wow.
cool stuff, but also communications like space. Telecoms is going to be big for Australia because of where we're positioned on Earth. But yeah, I mean, our space industry is just starting to really come up. There's a lot of funding that's going into that particular area as well. You know, from government as well as, you know, from the private sector as well.
It does seem like a very interesting area where you can apply your skills in.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think
I'd love it. It'd be interesting. I mean, I mean, not sure whether it's, you know, whether it stays under, you know, the sort of consulting work that I'm doing now, or if it's something bigger than that. Like, you know, I just don't know. But it definitely feels as though there's, I mean, we're in such a really interesting point in modern history, like history of the last 20, 30 years. I don't know if you feel it, but I definitely feel it. You know, like there's, you know, in a very interesting period, you know, obviously the economics of it all, and, you know, some of the turmoil that's happening around the world as well. But it's a very interesting period in history. I think, you know, there is massive change coming through. You know, you can feel it. You know, there's, you know, obviously the last couple of years has, you know, been tough for everyone. And there's a lot of change that got driven off the back of that. But like it almost feels like it's rebalancing again now, you know, after the last couple of years.
And I know you mentioned in one of your responses, the world is very much very different now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
And so it should be, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily, you know, a negative thing. You know, I think it's just, I don't know, just part of, I don't know, you know, part of sort of being
part of being, part of evolution,
Yeah,
part of
yeah.
society moving forward. Obviously, we all have that insatiable need to for growth, to grow.
Yeah, I think progress as well, right? People want to progress. And, over the last few years, some may have felt they've progressed a lot, others may not, depending on, what the experience was like for you. I don't know, for me, it was an interesting experience coming back from, living overseas during the middle of,
Yeah, I still remember our conversation over margaritas. How you got back just back in time.
yeah, just back exactly. And it was really interesting. Sort of couple of years for me, like just moving around and kind of,
Have you always meditated? Like, was meditation a recent thing where it was you needed it to bring yourself back and to be grounded, or I'm just curious because I'm just tying back to the whole Marcus Aurelius book, your morning routine in terms of making sure you fit in meditation.
Yeah.
Is that you?
I wouldn't say always. I mean, I'd say for the last 10+ years.
Mm.
And I've had periods where it's been, a big theme for me. Had periods where it's kind of dropped off a little bit. It's funny, like I love this. I love the statement that it's a meditation practice, right? Which means you always practice. It's like for me at least, never feel like I've mastered it, but coming to terms with the fact that it's a practice and just continuing to practice. And, I feel the benefits of it. That's me.
Great distinction.
Yeah, others may not, and that's okay. But for me, it's
everyone has their own way. Hey.
Yeah, exactly. I speak to mates all the time, and some people, their meditation is working on a car, right? It's cool. And another buddy of mine, who's actually off on one of his adventures right now, he tells me that he does like solo adventures around uninhabited remote islands in North Australia, in between sort of North Queensland and New Guinea. Right? So he'll island hop by himself, live off the land, all that sort of stuff.
Wow,
like heavy
that's
stuff.
That's his meditation.
He says after 3 weeks, all the noise stops. The constant hum that we were talking about before, everything. He says it just goes away. He goes, and then he just blisters out. I'm like, that's kind of meditation. He goes, yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
I'm trying to achieve that state where I can always get rid of the hum, no matter where I am.
When you figure that one out, let me know.
I think that will be the holy grail. That will be the ultimate gift to reduce. It was interesting. I was speaking to a friend this morning. I was actually speaking to a super fan on the Medium podcast.
Awesome.
There's a few individuals who constantly keep emailing me with suggestions and improvements, new guests. And one of them goes to me, "Hey, Jeff, what's stopping you from, buying a piece of land somewhere in a remote," because he's very much an EV fanatic, and hey, what's stopping you from buying a piece of land, getting the whole battery power set up? It's obviously cheaper. You can probably get a bigger piece of land, right? And I said to him, there was a time where I loved Kangaroo Valley, the rolling hills, and it allowed me, like your friend, to get rid of the noise. But then I realized it's always going to be an escape. And that a deeper reward was to find a way where I can reduce that noise wherever I am. And then I parked the idea of Kangaroo Valley. So for me, it's very much a practice of how do I stay in the zone, live in the present, have that Zen feeling wherever I am. That's what I've been working on.
That's good. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I think that's I don't like. For me, sometimes meditation and other mindfulness practices, even exercise and working out and training and stuff.
Consistent? You're doing it consistently too?
Yeah. Kind of use that stuff as a tool just to stay balanced, or to stay
you need it.
in a good, healthy state, right? And then other times, like you're saying, can be used to get to that next level of just stillness and calmness. And that's
a great feeling.
Yeah, it is a good feeling when it happens. Yeah, for sure.
But you do know we're hitting the top of that. We're hitting the almost top of the hour. I'm conscious every time. Now I know we can go on and on and on, but I did promise you a bit of a different question.
Okay.
Let's park fatherhood. Let's park mountains. Let's park space. Let's park your morning routine. Let's park Marcus Aurelius. I like what you talked about in terms of the next frontier in terms of technology, right? Now, let me give you a scenario here, right? Time travel existed. Okay, you can go back in time wherever you want. But the caveat is, of course, is that it's only in observer mode. So whatever you do, you cannot alter the future. Where would you go and why?
Wow.
Now, think about it.
That's a brilliant question.
Think about it, right? I'll give you my one. Hopefully I'll buy a bit of time, because I reckon that's pretty cool, right? For me, I've always been fascinated by who built the pyramids.
Yeah.
I'll literally go back to the time to see them construct a pyramid. I think that for me, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's at the top of my head. That's the first thing that came to my head. So what's the answer for you? Anywhere, let me reiterate it, give you some more time. You can go anywhere in the past. Time travel existed. The only caveat, like I said, I think it's actually a good thing, is that it's only in observer mode.
Yeah.
You can't affect the future, nor can the past affect you. So you're very much in your own bubble within that time frame, wherever you are. Where would you go and why?
So the first one that came to mind was, if I could go back and hear Socrates speak, that would be pretty cool. But then I kind of, something else came into my mind, which if I was ever asked this question again, it's just interesting that it came up. So I've got to give it, I've got to honor it. I would go back in time to understand where my family lineage actually comes from, because we don't know. So I'd go back as far as my lineage goes back and see where on earth the hell they're from.
Wow. That could be multiple generations.
Probably, yeah, probably. More than likely.
I think that's sort of like saying you want to see the birth of mankind.
Well, I kind of want to see, just even like heritage-wise, I'm South African, as you know, but, obviously didn't, I think we go back 8 or 9 generations in South Africa, but then before that, we have no idea. I'm like, I want to know, where's the heritage from? Where is it?
Where's the seed, in a way?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that would be super interesting. Just however far back it is in history, to then see, my ancestors, who they were, what they did, how they lived, and what of that are we carrying forward today? However many hundreds of years down the track, or thousands, maybe, I don't know. What are we doing, right? Are we still of the same kind? Do we still have any resemblance? Do we share any of those emotional qualities, or or is it, what passed down, what didn't?
I think this is a side point. We might be heading towards a whole Darwinism versus God.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? I'm an atheist, from a perspective of I don't particularly assign full agency to any one particular religion. But do I think there's more to things? Yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I see that there's evidence of that too, right? Like when you're at, I can't remember the last time that you've seen this, right? But if you go to like like a concert or an event or something like that, right? And you see the artist perform, and you see this group energy come from from the masses, from the crowd. And when that builds to like crescendo point, it's the type of magic, man.
Beautiful.
That's beyond, that's beyond kind of, I think, what we can
Comprehension.
explain. Yeah, we can't really explain it, but when you're there, you can fucking feel it. You feel it come through your body like nothing else.
I love it. Gosh,
Mm.
thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, my man. It's been fun. I'll have to do it again soon sometime. I know we didn't cover half of the stuff I thought we
I reckon we did pretty well.
Yeah, we didn't do bad. I think we did well too. No, it's been lots of fun. Really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure, Gosh. I'll see you in the next one, right?
Definitely.